turn this microphone on. Hereby call the meeting of January 27th, 2026 to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Beck.
Here.
Vice Mayor Finn.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Bullock. I believe he's here. Councilmember Stokes.
Here.
Councilmember Dunn.
Here.
Councilmember Edwards.
Here.
Councilmember Crawford.
Here.
Mayor Beck, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Our only item on the agenda today at this moment is to call for executive session. Do I have a motion to enter into executive session?
Move to approve.
Second.
First, second, and third, please vote. You guys have quite the antenna array over there. And it passes 6-0, thank you. And we will enter into executive session.
Hernandez for really supporting that goal as well and making sure that we're committed to supporting every student. Parents, thank you. You're the reason that your kids are invested in what they do in school, whether it's the arts or something else. Thank you for partnering with us to help make that happen. And most importantly, students, artists, you have an entire room full of people that are here to see your artwork. I've never had a room full of people. Has anybody else had people come see their? This is incredible. And you're doing this at such a young age. We are so proud of you. Please always continue to be creative and never stop sharing that creativity with the world. Is what we need. And every adult in this room is smiling because of your artwork on the wall. So congratulations to you. Thanks for making us all look really good.
Okay, she literally stole everything I was gonna say. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. Look, public art plays a very essential and important part to our quality of life and in fostering a shared sense of community pride. And thank you for being here tonight to share that with us. The City of Peoria and Peoria Unified do get to collaborate on many things. And yes, I am excited about our Arts Festival. How many of you have been to the Arts Festival before? Please raise your hand. Okay, for those of you not raising your hand, you're in for a huge treat. I hope those of you that raised your hand agree. It's one of my favorite events. It's a day filled with arts and music and dance like no other. And it happens right on this campus. And it's the first big event we're going to be celebrating after our brand new front yard has been completed. In case you didn't notice when you walked in, it's been boarded off for quite some time. So I hope you enjoyed how beautiful it is now. I also want to commend our arts educators and thank you, Stacy, for recognizing them, because I can say that my life was completely transformed because of an arts educator. So some days you might not feel like what you do matters or makes a difference, but it certainly does. And I would also like to extend the sincere thanks to Dr. Casey Summers, the superintendent, Dr. Teresa Hernandez, the chief academic support officer, and the entire team at Peoria Unified, because the work that you do is really important. Art in all its forms is a gateway to creative thinking and problem solving. It shapes community identity, strengthens culture, and fuels community pride. The arts are also a powerful catalyst for economic development and innovation across every industry. Simply put, the arts make us better, more creative, more productive, and more connected. This year, we were fortunate to showcase the work of 32 student artists from 16 schools displayed in the Pine Room right here at City Hall. And this evening, we are proud to honor the artists selected for this exhibit. So our arts and culture team, I have to make sure and thank them because they carefully frame and install each of these pieces, and the students will take the framed artwork home tonight. So please don't forget your artwork, along with a certificate of recognition from the City of Peoria. And please join me in thanking Kristen Mialogos, Suzanne Anisette, and Bill Moss for their hard work and dedication in making this program so special. Suzanne is running around the room right now, seating people. So thank you all for your hard work. Okay, as you can see, we've got our artists lined up and we're ready to go. I don't know if we have our mayor and council here yet. I don't see them. They are still working very hard, believe it or not, in executive session. May I ask, Mr. Faust, would you like to join us up here to help us give out the certificates? Are they? They're on their way, so I should tap dance a little bit and we'll get there. Because I will tell you all this. This is one of the mayor's favorite and most featured events. He loves seeing these student artists, so I don't want to start without him. And he would probably be okay with starting the council meeting late in order to be here to meet these students. So let's see, should we do a Q&A? Do you want to know something about our arts program? Any questions from the audience? I could start reading poetry. I could sing some musical theater tunes, whatever you want, anything. No, nothing. You guys are way too easy. We gave you cookies, so now you're comfortable, right? Well, I will also tell you that one of the key things and one of the reasons why I was so excited to join the city of Peoria now 9 years ago, I just celebrated my 9th anniversary with the city, is that this particular event, as well as we're gonna go. Oh, thank you. We've got people in the background taking care of logistics in case you haven't figured it out. One of the reasons that I joined this city is because I saw the focus on arts and how important it is to invest in our students. And when you grow up with that kind of background and upbringing, I truly believe that anything is possible. And I've seen it with my own two kids that are now, gainfully employed in the real world and doing great things, and they credit a lot of their arts classes. So trust me when I tell you that the innovators of tomorrow are sitting in this room right now, and they're going to be ready to take on those challenges, those problem-solving skills, and the ability to think a little differently. Because I'll tell you what the hardest thing is. The hardest thing is to get out of your own way. When something is working really well, when something's really successful, why would you change it? Why wouldn't you just keep it doing the same thing over and over again? I always say, innovate or die. And so if you're innovating and challenging the status quo and making improvements every single day, you will see a difference. And that's what these students are learning right now in the classroom. All right, well, I'm still tap dancing up here. So. Well, we talked about the arts event already. Where were you? I thank you for the prompt. I appreciate that. We always have great events in the city of Peoria. We did talk about February 28th, so please mark your calendars for the arts event right here on City Hall campus. And let me remind you, we have free parking right here in these wonderful parking garages. So don't drive around aimlessly looking for parking. Remember when you go out to find the parking garage and like bookmark it in your maps so that you don't get lost. So that's my tip for the day. And any events that we have in downtown, make sure you park in the parking garages because it's just a quick walk and it's super easy. Look who we have. We have council members. This is so exciting. Woo! Thank you. All right, I'm gonna take you right where you
Okay.
be over on this end,
Okay,
the other side of the.
perfect.
All right, everybody. First of all, welcome our wonderful council members here this evening and our Mayor Beck. Thank you. Okay, now I got to get to the important names. And I'm going to also admit that if I screw up someone's name, I give you full permission to tell me that I've screwed it up and I will correct it. So don't be shy. So when I call your name, we're going to show your piece of art. You're going to come up to Mayor Beck. Oh, you might want these.
I'm gonna turn mine on.
Mayor Beck will then give you your certificate. You can pose for a photo, and I'm going to ask you to stay up here. Just come right across the stage, come to this end, because we're going to take a group photo at the end. I know it's a lot of instructions. Just follow my lead. We'll get through it. It'll be fine. Everybody ready? Okay, here we go. We're going to start with Desert. Oh, by the way, I should also mention, this is being live streamed right now on all of our city platforms. So don't be nervous. It's all cool. But yeah, everybody can see you, Facebook, YouTube, all the things. Okay, we're still good. No pressure, but smile. Just try to smile.
Right.
Okay, here we go. From Desert Harbor, we have Winona Ulm. And then come on over here. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you. And then we have Franz Zara. Was like. Next, we have Coyote Hills Elementary School, Quinn Craghead. And next we have Mackenzie Hawkins. Mackenzie, I'm gonna have you just come behind here so we don't.
Like the flower.
Aren't they great? Just come right in here and then we'll get you guys. Next, we have Oakwood Elementary School, Trista Best Canizaro. Thanks, you guys. Yeah, just gonna scooch you and then we'll get. Next, we have Taylor Best Johnson. From Frontier Elementary School, we have Saoirse Morgan Hill. No, Saoirse's not here. Oh, and we do have some that are not here, so we're still gonna show their artwork because they should be seen, right? And then next we have Zoe Schlee. And next from Apache Elementary School, we have Serena Garrick. And Emma Taylor. Heritage Elementary School, and I don't believe this young person is here. Isabu Cabrera. Oh, we do have her. Okay, great. And then Braxton Josens, not here. But Adam's a very good looking chicken. Okay, next, Lake Pleasant Elementary School. We have Beckham Metellus. And Ryan Frey. And then we have Ira Murphy Elementary School and Mala Meherzad. She's not here tonight. And then Avery Fanara. And at Copperwood, we're starting with Alina Peretcher, not here. And Luis Vargas Estrada. Cheyenne Elementary, Yaretzi Valdez Navarrete. And Ashley Wang. From Desert Palms, Samira Powell. Samira, thank you. I was going back and forth on that one. Could have gone either way. And Liliana Navarro. Cotton Bowl Elementary, Gerald Thornburg. And Samuel James Marsden. Canyon Elementary, we have Zeke, oops, sorry, I went too fast. Zeke Zanoris. And Evan Harris.
He's like, I'm going.
Altaloma, We have Sophia Baca. And Jolisa Curtis Orozco. Country Meadows. Carlo Black. And Leonardo Torres. And finally, last but not least, Marshall Ranch. We have Kaylin Lewis. And Naomi Kuzmanik. Yeah. Okay, now the fun begins. We're going to gather our council members and our student artists up here for a photo. Can we get the screen up, please? And when I say fun, it's because trying to coordinate this many people into a photo is my favorite challenge. It's great.
It's the
All
council.
people-
Good evening and welcome to the Peoria City Council meeting. I hereby call the meeting of January 27th, 2026 to order. Those who are able, please stand for the invocation by Pastor Jose Gonzalez, founder and CEO of First Responders Ministry. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear God Almighty, we thank you for this wonderful time, Lord, and we ask you to give wisdom to our mayor and all the council members. Just give them the wisdom they need to make the right decisions and bless this wonderful city of Peoria, Lord. Bless and protect our first responders, our children, our schools, Lord. And as we start this meeting, Lord, we ask you to guide each one of us with your wisdom and love. Bless us in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Beck,
Here.
Vice Mayor Finn,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Bullock,
Here.
Councilmember Stokes, Councilmember Dunn,
Here.
Councilmember Edwards,
Here.
Councilmember Crawford,
Here.
Council Youth Liaison Navgari,
You're like, hello.
Council Youth Liaison Holly.
Here.
Mayor Beck, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I'm going to start saying hello. If anyone would like to address the council about a matter, this is the last call to submit speaker request forms, which can be found at the entrance to the room to the clerk at this time. I will now recognize Vice Mayor Finn to present the certificates of appointment for new boards and commission members.
It's the only one I can grab, so I guess it works. Thank you. We have one presentation to hand out tonight to Mr. Sean Hutchinson. Sean, if you want to make your way up here. As Sean's coming up, I wanted to mention this is for the Planning and Zoning Commission, and we have a lot of different committees. This is one of the most important ones, and if I didn't mention it earlier, Sean, can sometimes be the most contentious. So we we appreciate you volunteering for this. Again, this is an incredibly important position, and we put a lot of weight in what you all do, and we really want to thank you for stepping up for this. So thank you very much. We're gonna get a picture here, Sean, whether you like it or not. All right.
If I turn my mic on, it makes it sound a little bit better. Sorry about that, fellas. We will now move on to the regular meeting consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion unless a request for removal has been prior approval. I now recognize Councilmember Dunn, who would like to make a comment on the consent agenda.
Hello, I just wanted to thank our staff. Item 7C, we're accepting funding in the amount of $300,000 in state funds. And this is supporting Varney Park in the Pine District. And we had talked so much in the past years about park parity. So this is, helping to further that. So I really want to congratulate staff for putting this together. It's important to not only the Pine District, but to all of Peoria and my constituents, and I really appreciate the hard work that went into this. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
All motion.
Second.
I have a first and a second. Please vote. And it passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Moving to the next piece. We will now move on to regular agenda and introduce new business. I now recognize City Manager, Mr. Henry Darwin, to introduce 15R.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, Agenda Item 15R is our fiscal year 2025 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report and Auditor Communications. And we have here at the table, we have our Chief Financial Officer, Sean Kindle, and Joshua Jumper of Heinfield Meach and Company, and they'll present the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report and Auditor Communications. Take it away, Sean.
Your microphone. Trust me, I have the same issue sometimes.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Darwin, Mayor and Council. We're happy to be here tonight to present this report to you. I would like to start, Joshua's going to take most of the presentation, but I'd like to just take a moment to start by thanking the Financial Services Division of the Finance Department. This report is a huge undertaking for them every year. This year, it was kind of compounded by the fact that we were also implementing a new ERP system at the same time. So there were a lot of late nights and a lot of weekends for those folks. So I just want to publicly say thank you to them. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Joshua, and he'll present the audit findings.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's good to be back once again to present the audit results for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2025. I have a few slides just to keep me on track, but I will keep my comments brief. So why an annual audit that the city has? Well, it's under state statute. Why am I here presenting to you? Well, it's also required in Arizona revised statutes to come present outside of consent agenda. The standards that guide the audit. So there are an infinite number of rules and laws that we have to follow as the external auditors over the annual audit for the city, in addition to the accounting rules that the city has to follow and properly present the financial statement. So this is just demonstrating the various rules and laws that are followed. It wouldn't be an audit presentation if I didn't demonstrate why an audit is important. You're verifying management's representations on the city's finances. You're demonstrating stewardship and accountability to a host of different parties, including the citizens, grantors, state agencies, federal agencies, et cetera. You're also ensuring compliance with laws and regulations. And you're also ensuring that management has fulfilled their responsibility to get an annual audit each year. Just briefly, the audit process. So we begin our annual audit back in the summer. We continue through the fall performing audit procedures either on-site or remotely. And then the reports were issued in December and then this month. So when we speak of reports, what reports are included in an annual audit? So there are several different reports issued. One of them is the communication to governance letter. So this is required to be issued under auditing standards to you, the council, and it's included in your agenda packet. The big one is the annual comprehensive financial report, which is the city's financial statements, audited financial statements for the fiscal year. The single audit reporting package, which is required reporting related to the federal grants the city has and its spending of those grants, and that's submitted to the federal government. The annual expenditure limitation report, which is a state required report. And then finally, the state transportation HERF, Highway User Revenue Fund compliance. The state requires demonstration that HERF monies are being spent accurately and properly. Additionally, several other reports. The standalone employee benefit trust is also audited, the workers' compensation trust, and then 4 CFD reports get a separate standalone audit each year. So key items I want to communicate, the most important one, the financial statements of the city, unmodified opinion. That's the technical accounting term. The non-technical term, a clean audit opinion, meaning the financial statements are free of material misstatement, and that audit opinion was issued December 22nd. Pleased to also report no internal control deficiencies. The annual audit also includes looking at controls and processes related to the financials. No control deficiencies noted during that review. And then finally, just saying, going back to the single audit, the city reported $8.1 million of federal expenditures, the spending of the federal dollars flowing into the city, and COVID-19 funding from various sources still remains a large portion, so spending the remaining of those grants. Other communication required related to the audit. So that letter I referenced is to you, the council. Also included in that letter is a copy of the engagement letter, which is signed before the audit begins. It gives us authorization to begin audit procedures. The management representation letter, signed at the end of the audit, is confirming all management's representations on the financials, the finances, everything they've provided to us for audit documentation, and allows us to issue our audit opinion at the very end of the process. Additionally, as part of the audit, we do fraud inquiries throughout our process to various individuals and employees and management. And just reminding, as part of the audit process, the responsibility for fraud ultimately rests with management and the council. Our responsibilities are to provide reasonable but not absolute assurance. And then the financial statements are the responsibility of management. Tried to keep my comments brief, but just to reiterate what Sean said, the audit process, reports were issued on time by the required deadlines, and the process was efficient in terms of getting the information we request. And just again, thanks to the accounting and finance team, they had a very, very busy fall with the implementation of a new ERP, in addition to the auditors asking the normal audit questions. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Councilor Bullock, would you like to ask a question?
Thank you very much. And it's actually more of a statement per se, a question. Thanks first of all to Sean and Kevin and Peter and your team. We've gone back and forth a couple of times. I'm one of those geeks that read all 59 pages of the report and skimmed the tables. It was a late night and it was a repeat of TV, so I figured I'd read it, just joking. I did read it all. And one thing I saw consistently and that came to my mind is I appreciate how much the city separates the politics of budget from the fiscalness or fiscality. I'm going to make up a word right there, the fiscalness of our budget. Because a lot of times I think, and I was like this before I got on the council, I would kind of put everything together that, the city's spending incorrectly or a politician wants this or they vote on that. That's completely separate than how we run our finances because, as you correctly said and eloquently said, we are governed by so many institutions and organizations and regulatory bodies. We can't just go spend willy-nilly. As politicians, we can come up with great ideas, want to spend this and do this. If it doesn't meet the test, we can kick and scream all day long. We're not going to get it. And so thank you for doing that for me. And I'll just speak for myself, how you've helped me to separate the politics of budget from the fiscal responsibility. And we've had, and this is no secret, why the whole generation of the PIC, the Peoria Innovation Corps, I'm speaking of my district, and the North Peoria Gateway, is we have a DART or deficit of sales tax revenue to equal the growth in population we've had. We hit an inflection point a couple of years ago where more residents moving in, the sales tax doesn't keep up, hence the need to bring in more employment, more retail, more restaurants, everything to get the coveted sales tax dollar. And so even with the economy being what it is and our sales tax not going as fast as we want it to as we're working on that, I want to actually quote Sean, if it's okay with you, something that you sent me yesterday in one of the responses of the bunch of questions I asked you. And you said, right there, we expect, okay, I'm sorry. Due to our conservative budgeting, even with a slowing of revenues, our ongoing operations are expected to remain stable. That may sound like, and this sounds bad, a CPA comment, an accounting comment. I'm in the IT world and I respect CPAs, but you're very, very straight-laced and I like that. The fact that you're confident making that statement, that despite reduced revenues, despite pressures on trying to build for the future, because of conservative budgeting and not falling to whims of political pressure or political whims at all, you're able to maintain our financial security so we can take care of business while we try and take care of the future. I don't want that to go unnoticed, because a lot of times the financial part of any company, it happens in the background and everything else gets the glitz and the glamour, the marketing and the sales. What you're doing is keeping us going and afloat and stable while we try and build the future. If you didn't do what you're doing, we would not be able to build what we need to do with the PIC, the North Peoria Gateway, and revitalizing downtown Peoria to increase our sales tax base and eventually get our services and everything where we want without raising taxes. So I just have to say that because all the answers you gave me point back to that same exact thing. What you're doing is building stability that will ride the storms of economics and politics, and that is what's going to keep Peoria growing and becoming #1 as we're working on. So thank you very much.
Anyone else? Good. Thank you for your comments. Council, do I have any further discussion? Zero? Looks like it. Council, do I have a motion to approve agenda item 15R?
Mayor, I move we approve item 15R as stated.
Second.
And we have a second. Please vote. And it passes 7-0. Thank you. I now recognize City Manager Mr. Henry Darwin to introduce 16R.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, we have approaching the table here, we have our Planning Director, Chris Hawkes, and he's going to seek your approval to rezone approximately 200 acres from Suburban Ranch, SR 43, to planned area development to facilitate the development of up to 655 single-family resident lots near Lone Mountain and 135th Avenue. Chris.
Great. Well, good evening. Thank you, Mr. Darwin, and good evening, Mayor and Council. So this first item, this is the first of two developments that we'll discuss tonight that pertain to recently auctioned state land parcels. So often a misnomer is that state land is open space, and as we've discussed before, it is not open space. Their fiduciary, the Arizona State Land Department, they have a constitutional mission to hold land until it reaches its pinnacle value, wherein at that point they raise revenue for the underlying beneficiaries, and they do that through public auctions. So as growth has occurred around these areas, we are left with these infill areas. State land has determined that these lands are ripe for development, hence the recent auctions that we've had. So with that as a backdrop, the applicant tonight is Bill Lawley from the law firm of Tiffany and Bosco, and they're here on behalf of Shea Homes. Shea Homes was a successful bidder, and they come in partnership with Lennar and Toll Brothers. So as you see on the screen, the site is identified on red. It's generally located around 135th Avenue alignment and Lone Mountain. It's in the vicinity of Estancia and the Trilogy West community. It's approximately 280 acres. And the request, if granted tonight, would rezone the property to a planned area development for a development to be called Vallejo, which would result in up to 655 single-family residential lots. Contextually, again, the site at 280 acres, it's bisected by two wash corridors and a hillside landmark that is identified in the upper right-hand corner of the site in yellow. Again, as I mentioned, the site is already surrounded by existing communities. You have Estancia to the northwest and across Lone Mountain to the north, the Trilogy West community to the east and south, and then the emerging community of Ossian is at White Peak, south across Dixoletta Boulevard. So the development overall, this will include connections along 135th Avenue, also improvements along Dixoletta, which will provide future stub conditions to the vast areas west, which is all state land. And looking at the land use disposition, the site was brought into the city in 1994. It's held suburban ranch zoning. This is a district that allows for rural or semi-rural development types, or it holds land in a lesser value until development conditions are ripe. And at that point, then we look at the general plan for guidance. And so the graphic on the left illustrates the existing general plan designations. So if I can direct your attention to the darker yellow, that is a designation called traditional residential. It holds a land use, or I should say a density range of 2 to 5 units per acre. And as you can see, it mirrors the surrounding communities to the east. And then that wash that runs through the property, that bisects the property, that lighter yellow, that is a state residential, and that holds a lower density at 0 to 2 units per acre. All right, so we're briefly going to touch on the conceptual plan for the Vallejo community. As I mentioned, through a partnership, 3 builders will be offering a mix of single-family housing types. Overall, the development proposal is for 655 lots. This would yield a gross density of 2.34 units per acre. As you look at the screen, you can see those wash corridors and the hillside landmark to the upper right. Overall, the open space would comprise 35% of the site area, or 90 acres. And again, through those natural areas, this open space will also be held within 3 pocket parks that will be distributed throughout the community, as well as activated open space that's required as part of the plan. So with the wash corridors as well, there will be some trails that provide connectivity throughout the project. And then in terms of access, there will be 2 access points from Lone Mountain on the northern side of the proposal, and then along Dixiletta of the southern part. And then you can kind of see a road that extends across the wash, and that will provide connectivity from 2 parts of the community across the wash. Now, special attention was paid to the edge conditions. So the developer received quite a bit of input. Much of that input was focused on these edge conditions where the project site abuts existing areas. So in terms of land use buffer, or separation as we call it, if you look at the blue area there, that's the portion of development, parcel 3, that's adjacent to Vistancia parcel G1. So in this case, there will be a minimum 30-foot landscape buffer. And then when you look at that with the existing 25-foot buffer, that provides 55 feet of separation along that edge condition. And then the direct attention to the red box where it abuts Trilogy West C48, there will be a minimum 40-foot landscape buffer. Again, with the existing buffer, you're provided with a 65-foot separation between those 2 communities. Another edge condition item that came up was that pertained to a desire for a single-story height restriction along those areas. So again, looking at the area that's abutting the Vistancia community, it says that lands within 100 feet of that will be limited to 1 story and 25 feet. Same condition on the Trilogy West side. So parcels 1 and 2 in Vallejo, where they abut that parcel C48, they will also be held to the same 1-story, 25-foot restriction. All right, now to summarize the analysis, we first look at the general plan for guidance. And as I mentioned, and as you can see on the screen, 2 different land use designations. So as we look at the estate residential, that's the light yellow, 0 to 2 units per acre. The proposed density in that area would be 1.7 units per acre. It's within the range. And then in a dark yellow, 2 to 5 units per acre, the proposed density would be 2.6 units per acre. So right in the middle, overall, this site would have 2.34 units per acre. It does conform with the general plan land use map. Now, during the evaluation of the case, there was often misconceptions that the proposed density was too high or out of character for the area. So, and again, as I mentioned, it does comply with the general plan. This is a graphic that illustrates the corresponding gross densities of smaller parcels and abutting parcels in Trilogy West and Vistancia. So as you can see, not only are the proposed PAD lot sizes and development standards similar or consistent with those abutting communities, the densities are actually, in most regards, lower than what the abutting communities are. So again, as we looked at this, we believe that meets the general plan. It's an appropriate land use. The standards are consistent. The edge conditions provide a good comparable treatment along those areas. In terms of access and infrastructure, with any rezone case, we do require a traffic impact analysis to be submitted and reviewed by our staff. As I mentioned, there are 3 points of access into the development. The TIA, as we call it, does contemplate 2 potential signals, one at the Westland connection at Lone Mountain and another one down on Dixiletta Avenue. So those potential signals would occur in the future. The timing would be dictated per the TIA. As you can also see along 135th Avenue, that we would provide that connection from Lone Mountain through the development and an offsite down to Blackstone Lane. You do see a roundabout condition in the middle to keep traffic moving as well. In terms of water and sewer, the development does have sufficient and available capacity to serve this development. So now moving into the community outreach portion, as with any development case, we always approach the relevant school district. This is within the Peoria Unified School District. Students that would be generated by this development would attend Lake Pleasant Elementary and Liberty High School. We did provide PUSD an opportunity to participate in review. While we haven't received any formal comments on the proposal, the applicant has provided written correspondence from PUSD, and that's Exhibit 3 in your packet, and they've identified that the developer is working towards a voluntary assistance agreement with the school district to help offset the costs of that. In a rezone case, we also require the applicant to hold at least one neighborhood meeting. It requires a site posting and letters sent out to the required radius. In this case, given the size of the development, it goes to a quarter mile around it and all registered HOAs within a mile. So there was a neighborhood meeting held on June 4th at Vistancia Elementary, had a great turnout. It had 93 people there. What resulted from that were 37 comment cards received, and we received 5 emails. And so the concerns that we've received were pretty consistent throughout all of the correspondence we've received on the case, and I'll touch on that briefly in a moment. To date, we have received 32 letters in opposition. So these are the topical areas that have been cited during the history of the project. Again, as I mentioned, there was a perception that this would yield a much higher density than the area. As I've indicated, it's not. It's in fact similar or lower. There was concerns about the impact to view, and that's where the edge condition treatments, the separation, the single-story restriction comes up. Again, with the proximity to homes. There was also a concern that this development would essentially remove wildlife corridors and the loss of open space. And so, as with any development, it's certainly going to have an impact on those areas. However, these natural washes will be retained in place. Wildlife can still move throughout those corridors. And as I mentioned, the open space yield at 35% is much higher than we typically see with developments of this size. Concerns about schools and impact on capacity. There was also some specific concerns about the construction and how, the timing of construction, where specific things would occur. And those are questions that are best answered when we get to that phase of the development process. And then, as I mentioned, also concerns about the traffic generation and impacts. So overall, these are the design elements, and I think it's important to amplify all the concessions and all the changes that have been made throughout the course of this project. I've talked about the edge conditions adjacent to Trilogy West with the separation, the height restriction, also along that corridor with Vistancia G1. The open space that is ample and distributed throughout the property. And also, as we look at these cases, it does, as I mentioned, conform with the general plan. It advances the general plan. It provides a mix of housing types. The densities conform with the area and are compatible. This item went to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a public hearing. That was on December 11th. We did have 3 speakers there in opposition to the case. And after a full, complete deliberation, the commission did vote 4-0 to recommend approval to the council. Now, subsequent to the P&Z Commission hearing, we did receive a petition. That's in your packet. I believe it's Exhibit 4. But that was signed by 113 Trilogy West residents. They were seeking further modifications. And so as a result of that, the applicant and the council person, they met with neighbors, and that one-story restriction, whereas before it was along one parcel, they extended it to the full length of parcels 1 and 2. So they did honor that one. And then other items that were mentioned in that petition, again, they pertain really more to some of the construction related concerns or the design of housing types, which we just don't know today. They'll be known later during that design phase of that process. Overall, Mayor and Council, our key findings are such that the land use density and character, they conform to the general plan. The PAD development standards, they align with developments in the area. The edge conditions, there are a lot of attention paid to that to optimize compatibility, particularly in those boundary areas. And with all that, the PAD will facilitate an appropriate infill development in the area. And with that, the recommendation is to adopt the ordinance as recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission. With that, I can take any questions.
I know I'm limited to 500 words a night, but I'm going to go a little over tonight. So thank you, Chris. And you and I have been working on this actually since March. And I want to bring this up. I want to actually talk to my fellow council members and also give props to the Trilogy community. Even though I've only been on the council for a year, I've worked on 5 different housing projects, and this was literally the textbook example of how council member developer, residents, and city work together to make something happen. Because I wrote an article a couple weeks ago in my newsletter that Peoria housing is really a compromise and a partnership. Any new housing is. And I'm going to upset some people probably because I'm not going to mention everybody, but there's two individuals I like to give props to because I think sometimes we miss that when something goes really, really well, we don't talk about it. We seem to focus a lot on all the negative stuff sometimes in politics. So I want to give a shout out to Linda Simpson and Kim Stewart. And Kim actually I work with on I meet with her monthly on the Trilogy Liaison Committee. But I can't explain how well it went that the residents met with us. Actually, they reached out to me in March and I called Chris up and him and I went up there and did a presentation, not necessary, it wasn't part of the required. We went and met with residents, had 30 of them there that were very concerned. They had great ideas. Some of them had development backgrounds or been city management before. And the whole 9-month process went really, really well. Did everybody get everything they want? Of course not. Did the developer wish they didn't give as much as they did? Of course, they want to build 2-story houses everywhere? Sure. But the point is that this was a textbook example, and I really appreciate Chris and your team, but especially the Trilogy community. They went so far. We had so many meetings and phone calls, and they were sending plans and everything. It was done so well, and it's going to sound terrible, wish that every development could go that way, that we could all meet around the table, we could have multiple meetings and hash it out, knowing that you're going to win sometime and I'm going to win sometime. But this was exactly the way it should go. Everybody got some, everybody gave some. And that's why I'm fully supporting this. I just want to give props out to the Trilogy residents who really knocked it out of the park and taught me a lot too. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I'm going to go to speaker since Miss Linda Simpson was actually mentioned. So I have a speaker request form. Is Linda in the room? I figured since you brought your name up, you'd be the easy one to call on first, right?
That's a way to make sure that I'm
There you go. There you go.
Hi, I'm Linda Simpson, resident at Trilogy. I would echo Councilmember Bullock's comments. This was a discussion back and forth, and I do appreciate the fact that we were able to get in touch with the companies that Shay, the developer, employed. We did get some, we didn't get it all, but I think that's the way it goes. But the one thing I do want to bring to the City Council's attention, and I brought it up briefly at the zoning committee meeting, it was identified at the planning meeting that 24% of Peoria's land left is state land. So this is going to be something that keeps coming up and keeps coming up. Across the nation, cities, towns, governments are getting more and more aware of considering how do we do urban development, maintain the flora and fauna, the wildlife around us, and not just look at it as following the least minimum required. So federal law, you have to do a wildlife study in 404 washes only. The animals don't know that's where they're supposed to go. So part of my big push was the animals are walking behind, and they're coyotes, bobcats, donkeys, the hawks, the owls, all of the animals in the desert. And it's easy to just say, well, too bad, they'll find another way to go around. But if their hunting grounds go, if their plants go, if all of that disappears, it doesn't come back. And so I do ask that our city really start to think about and take a page from, quite honestly, Buckeye. They have the best-in-class example of putting together a document on how they're going to manage the area around the white tanks, how they're going to build the resource and the revenue base that we need to have. We need to have people moving in here, but we need to do it thoughtfully. And if we just fall back on the rules that I can build my next development, the back fence yours, and you have to be able to negotiate something so that doesn't happen, those are the days of old. And I would just hope that a city like ours, with this valuable space that's left, will take it more seriously about what are those setback zones? Like this document, which is empirically driven, a combination of developers, biologists, federal government, state government, fish and game, they put together some empirical-based data. The minimum setback should be 100 feet for anything larger than the snakes. And that's based on the science behind it. 100 to 300 feet is the setback we should be looking at in a rural area where you're trying to combine and bring city in. So the animals can go from one wash around the back into the other. So it may sound like, oh, we want a single-story home. It's not for the view, in my mind anyways. It's so that these animals can remain in a protected area to hunt what they hunt, so we still have the desert we have, so we can see what we see. We're not going to have any more Sonoran trees grow or cactus growing. We kill 40% of them every time we transplant them. Some of it has to go, but not all of it. So I would just ask the City Council to think about, and the Zoning Committee, maybe thinking about what can we do. Maybe there's guidelines we want to adopt for our area as this extra land gets developed. So it's not just up to, is your developer you're working with willing to negotiate? because that's money on the ground for them, but sometimes it's not just all about money. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. Holly Hart.
Good evening. My name is Holly Hart. I'm also a Trilogy resident on Montensoro. One of my comments from the last planning and zoning meeting is we have a unique situation that needs your consideration. We have two developments representing two different lifestyles. The new Shea development is residential with children, and the other is Trilogy, an established retirement and gated community. For them to coexist, I'm really concerned about the safety and the privacy, and the separation of these two communities is of utmost importance. We discussed in our neighborhood meeting on November 24th, our neighborhood meeting, which went really well, that the developer, at their expense, would ensure that the perimeter bordering Trilogy would be isolated in such a fashion that Trilogy would remain a gated community with no access points from their community into ours. We would like to see the developer's plans, and I've asked for them. I haven't seen anything in writing to see how they're going to achieve this goal. Because we are gated, we do want to make sure that we don't cross. I got an email this week from Mr. Lally that states that the builder has reached out to the Trilogy management company to discuss this matter, but I'm not sure who the management team may be. I understand that our community association manager, Jennifer Thomason, just was contacted today about this issue. So it wasn't really good timing. What was not included in one of their accommodations, what we're grateful for, is that walls have been approved for the lots that border the C-48 corridor that butt up against us. So they are going to isolate those homes with so we have some privacy, so that will help. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. Council, any further discussion? Council, do I have a motion to approve agenda item 16R?
Mayor, I move we vote on item 16R as stated.
Do I have a second? Please vote.
Oh, seriously?
I think we got these from Timu.
Seriously?
These things?
Huh?
These things?
Yeah, I literally hit
The green button?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to verbally change your?
I would like to verbally change my vote to yay.
Okay.
Can we just redo
It makes it easy.
the call?
Yep. Do I have Council, do I have a motion to approve agenda item 16R?
Mayor, I move we approve agenda item 16R as stated.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Please vote.
Could you push the button for me?
Okay. We'll do a voice vote. Council, my sign. Do I have approval? Please vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay. Councilman Burlick, you're confusing everybody at this point. All right. I now recognize City Manager Mr. Henry Darwin to introduce presentation for 17R and 18R.
Thank you, Mayor. So, Mayor and Council, as the Mayor just mentioned, we're going to receive one presentation for 17R and 18R, but there are two separate votes. The first is on 17R with respect to a minor general plan amendment, and 18R related to a rezone, both for the Treviso property near 95th Avenue and Happy Valley Road. Once again, we have our Planning Director, Chris Hawkes, that's going to make the presentation. Take it away, Chris.
Great, thank you for that introduction. So the second development case tonight, identified as Treviso. The applicant tonight is Adam Baugh from the law firm of Withy, Morris & Baugh. He's here on behalf of K. Hovnanian Great Western Homes. The site is generally at the northwest corner of 95th Avenue and Happy Valley. It's approximately 56.1 acres. And as mentioned, there are two requests tonight. 17R is the minor general plan amendment for 8.9 acres. So if you look at the polygon there, the general plan amendment really pertains to what looks like an elephant trunk. That's the general plan amendment. And then the rezone pertains to the overall 56.1 acre site. So if these actions were to be approved tonight, this would facilitate a 139 lot gated single family residential subdivision. All right, more specifically, the general plan, as we know, is the long-term outlook for the parcel or the area. The zoning is what we can do today. It's the regulatory element of a site. State law requires that the rezone conform with the general plan. So again, as I mentioned, the minor general plan amendment for that elephant trunk area, it is to modify the land use designation from mixed-use neighborhood village, which allows commercial and residential at a density of 12 to 20 units per acre, to traditional residential 2 to 5 units per acre. And that happens to be what the balance of the site is already designated. And then the second item would be to look at the entire parcel, the entire 56.1 acres, and rezone it from suburban ranch to a planned area development. So the PAD, as we've talked about in the past, this is a tailored type of zoning district. So instead of prescribed standards, it allows us to work with the community, with the developer, to tailor those standards for some of those, particularly for some of those edge conditions. This is another infill parcel where the edge conditions were important and came into play. All right, as we look at the site, it's important to note that this 56.1 acre site, this was part of a larger state land auction. So if you look at the area north of where the green stripe where it says Wash, along Lake Pleasant, that's vacant. That is not part of this case tonight, but it is important to understand that that was part of the state land auction that occurred earlier this year in which the KHOB was a successful bidder. So this case is just this 56.1 acres. We do understand that that case for the other area will come in at some point in the future for mixed-use development, which contemplated for commercial and residential. So again, as I mentioned, this is also an infill site. North of this site is the Corinthia community. East is 95th Avenue and large lot single family to the east. South, Happy Valley Road and the Tierra del Sol community. And to the west, that is a portion of the Four Corners. That is a commercial center anchored by Lowe's and Fry's. Couple of the constraints that are noteworthy on the site. It includes the existing wash condition that runs northeasterly through the site, and also an existing 60-foot wide gas line easement that also runs north and south on the site. In terms of the disposition of the site was annexed into the city in 1989. It was provided with suburban ranch zoning, which encompassed a much larger area at that time. So as development occurred around this area, we were left with vacant parcels. This is one of those vacant parcels, of which are state land. And so, as I mentioned, this public auction was held in February of last year. So the graphic on the left illustrates the general plan or long-term plan. And so what it illustrates, if you look at the site, the majority of the site is that dark yellow, that traditional residential, single family, 2 to 5 units per acre. That red is a mixed-use neighborhood village category. So what that does is that contemplates an integration between commercial land uses and residential. Now, when the general plan was done at that time, you know, these boundaries are pretty general, right? And it contemplated the boundary being at the gas line corridor rather than the wash. But if you look at the development functionally, the wash probably makes more sense because it has infrastructure implications when you cross a wash. And it makes sense to retain the entire area south of the wash as one land use designation. And that's what this first case seeks to do. Okay, let's get into the development proposal here. As I mentioned, this is a gated community, up to 139 detached lots. That would yield a density of 2.48 units per acre. And there are various lot sizes that are distributed throughout the project. But what's important to note here, when you look at the lighter yellow that are along 95th Avenue, those are the larger lots. So while there is a minimum lot size of 7,300 square feet, in actuality, those lots are going to be between 9,000 and almost 11,000 square feet. So those are the larger lots. And as we'll talk later, there are some other edge condition restrictions that were placed, particularly on that corridor there. You also look at 2 access entries on 95th Avenue. There was one near El Cortez, and also a southern access point too. And also to note, 95th Avenue does have a signalized access at Happy Valley Road. So when we look at the building heights and some of those edge condition treatments, so 95th Avenue, the developer has agreed to restrict all of those lots. There's 22 lots, the light yellow, to 1 story and 25 feet. And then as you transition to the west, the interior lots, they could be 1 or 2 story at 30 feet high. That's our typical standard that we employ throughout all our single family districts. When you look at the site overall too, the open space, again, it's approximately 1/3 of the site, 18 acres, and that is held in the natural wash condition. You'll also notice green space between the northern lots and Corinthia, provides some separation there. Also, there are a series of amenity areas that are distributed throughout the community. In terms of the trails, we do have trails that provide connectivity along the gas line easement, the wash, with future connections to the mixed use that will come in at a later date north of the wash there. So in terms of separation, as we look at this, the blue blocks you see on the north side. That is between Corinthia lots and the northern lot. That provides at least 300 feet of separation between those conditions there. On the east, at 95th Avenue, there is a landscape buffer there, but when you look at the right-of-way width and the landscape buffer, provides about 80 feet of separation between the nearest lots on the east side. And then considering Happy Valley and south of that, there's about 200 feet of separation between these lots and the lots in Tierra del Sol. So now we'll summarize the analysis. So again, on the general plan, just the elephant trunk portion, 8.9 acres. As I mentioned, the wash, we believe, creates a more functional boundary in terms of infrastructure and the community character. So this change, in our recommendation, would unify the area to the predominant land use category of that large lot, or I should say that traditional residential category. We would retain the mixed use category north of the wash. So as that development case comes in, we would expect a mixed use project mixing commercial and residential there. So what this change would do is not only unify the development area, but it does provide for an appropriate transition. The density at 2.48 units per acre is actually at the low end of that 2 to 5 units per acre that the general plan does permit as part of that dark yellow category. In terms of 18R, so this is the rezone. This is when we get into the regulatory foundation of the development. The request is to rezone the entire thing from suburban ranch to a planned area development, or PAD. In our analysis, the rezone was evaluated in conformance with the general plan. The general plan calls for moderately sized single-family lots, and again with that density between 2 and 5 units per acre. So this plan for detached single-family does meet the character requirements and also has a density that's within that range. The PAD does provide us mechanisms to tailor the standards, and so we'll talk about some of those provisions in a minute. In terms of traffic, 95th Avenue, this is a collector roadway. Through the neighborhood meetings, some of the concerns were about cut-through access from this development into outlying areas to the east and north. And so as part of this development, the developer will be required to complete all the half-street improvements along 95th Avenue, but also the roadway will terminate at El Cortez. So there won't be any access north of that. That's still right-of-way, and there's infrastructure in that right-of-way, but that area will be landscaped, but there will be no access to the north of it. Also, when we speak of the 2 connection points, one of the concerns was, hey, can the developer go back and look at those connection points? Can we stagger them so that it doesn't encourage that traffic to go eastbound and cut through the neighborhood? So the developer was agreeable to that, and so this graphic depicts staggers from those connection points there. Also, as part of the development of this will require signal modifications at 95th and Happy Valley, and also some lane configuration changes. So as you're going southbound on 95th Avenue, you will have a left turn lane, you will have a through lane, you will also have a right turn lane onto Happy Valley. So that'll provide additional capacity for that area. And then also, one of the other concerns of some of the neighbors was they have speed humps out there today on 95th to help slow traffic. So as part of the half-street improvements, Those facilities will be retained, but they will be built into what the traffic group calls speed cushions. So if you think about those are the ones that have the, there are separation points within that cushion to allow for easier fire access movement. In terms of water and sewer, we do have it available and a sufficient capacity to serve the development in the area. All right, moving right along, this is also within PUSD, and so students would attend Frontier and Sunrise Mountain. Again, we always provide the district with an opportunity to participate, and we did not receive any formal comments on this case. However, the applicant, they've been in contact with PUSD, and they've provided a memorandum from PUSD that there is capacity to serve this development. In terms of community outreach, again, as I mentioned, just like the last one, there is a neighborhood meeting requirement that also went out to the same radius, quarter mile, plus HOAs within a mile. And in this case, there were 2 neighborhood meetings held. The first one in August at Sunset Heights Elementary School. There were 50 persons in attendance. And then there was a follow-up meeting in October, same place, and there were 21 persons in attendance. And so, like the last case, there were consistent topics of concern that were voiced at both meetings and throughout the life of the project. So I'll talk about some of those. But overall, to date, we've received 6 letters in support of the case. We've received 4 letters in opposition. So those in support, they've said, just to summarize their letters, that this is a well-planned development. They believe it's compatible with the area. They like the way it integrates the open space, and it aligns with the general plan. Those in oppositions, they had a desire for no development on the land, or they believed that the density was too high and they desired less lots. There was also input that there was a desire for larger lot sizes that were consistent with the large lot areas to the east, and that this is a departure from that character. There were concerns on the traffic impacts and where those access locations were. There was also a concern about street lighting, that the city's lighting requirements would light up an area that is fairly semi-rural. And so to that point, I should mention that the developer has approached the city, and we do have a process where we do allow for a waiver from our standard requirements for street lighting, meaning whereas they still have to meet our height and shielding requirements, there is an opportunity for a reduction in the amount of streetlights that we would require. And so this is something that, in principle, the city is on board with. And so as we go through the planning process, assuming this goes forward, we would work with the developer on the reduction of that street lighting requirement there. There were concerns about water supply and also the school capacity and the generation for this development. So overall, I just wanted to summarize, this project did evolve. Again, this is a project that is gated. It's a for-sale community. The density meets the general plan. In terms of the transition, the lot sizes, they are larger along 95th Avenue where you have that edge condition. They're also restricted to 1-story max, so it really provide a good evolution from the development to the east. And then with the open space, also 1/3 of the site being open space and also providing for that pedestrian and amenity prospect throughout the community. And then with 95th, there was a lot of work and a lot of attention on 95th. Those offset intersections, the intersection improvements at Happy Valley, and then also the lighting reduction that's proposed. And again, the city is in support of that in principle. This went to Planning and Zoning Commission. There was a public hearing held on January 8th. That night, we had 2 speakers present in opposition to the case. And those words of opposition mirrored some of the comments that I've talked about tonight. Commission did vote 5-0 to recommend approval to the City Council. So again, as you see, overall, we've received 10 letters, 6 in support, 4 in opposition. As I close, here are the key findings. The minor general plan amendment, 17R, this change would unify rather an enclave that's split by that wash condition. We believe this meets the general plan goal. It facilitates appropriate infill development that will advance housing objectives and proximity to services. In response to the PAD or the rezone, the proposal conforms with the predominant land use category on this property from the general plan. And we believe also with these protections, it does provide that appropriate transition and intensity from existing neighborhoods. And so overall, we believe that the project satisfies the general plan. We do support both cases. And as you can see on the screen, there are 2 recommended actions tonight. And as the city manager mentioned, we would take separate actions in both cases. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Councilmember Bullock.
Well, it's in my district, and I know we joke and you give me a hard time. I like getting a hard time because I give it too. So, but I really, we all do our own research up here for our respective districts, but then we also rely on each other a little bit to say, hey, this is your district. You've been talking all along. Can you give me some update and some feedback to help me make my final decision? And so I say this just like I did the previous one for the benefit of my fellow council members, because I've been doing the research on this. I attended both public meetings. The residents were very organized. They were very aligned with what they wanted. They spoke as one voice, which was actually pretty cool to see. A few of them said, they didn't want anything, and I totally understand that. I was first approached in February before this was actually sold through the auction by another company who was not the winning bidder, who was talking about rental homes or rental townhomes. And I was on my second month, and I literally didn't know what I couldn't say, so I said no. Hey, I just got elected. Why not? Drunk with power. So I said no. That's not going to work for that area because it doesn't make sense. Yes, it's a transition from the back of Lowe's and Fry's to these very nice 1 acre lots on the other side of 95th Avenue. So I pushed back against those two, and then was approached by Cahove and Adam and his company, and just said, here's something we're doing. We want to do some nice high-end $600 to $1 million single-family homes, for sale property, and the way they lined it out. And so I said, yes, I can be interested in moving forward with that. Then we had the 2 public meetings. The residents, again, gave a lot of great information. I went to those meetings. I had 3 different calls with Adam and his team to go over and just nitpick against what the residents wanted. We came up with that, what the city came up with, the split exit on 95th Avenue out to Happy Valley, the lighting issues, the staggered. It was very, very, very well done. But just so, again, to my fellow council members, that research has been going on basically since February. I've been active, and it's a development, it's a compromise and a partnership, and I think that was also met here. Again, some gave and some got, but nobody got everything they wanted. But I'm supporting this for those reasons. So I did my research, and I feel good about it. Thank you.
Seeing no other further discussion, so we're going to do 2 separate votes. Okay. Councilor, first we will consider 17R. Do I have a motion to approve agenda item 17R?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a first and a second. Please vote. And it passes 7-0. Thank you. We will now consider item 18R. Council, do I have a motion to approve 18R?
Motion to approve 18R.
First, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a first and a second. Please vote. And it passes 7-0. Thank you. Thank you, Chris. I now recognize City Manager Mr. Henry Darwin to introduce 19R.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, probably the most important decision a council can make, in my humble opinion, is the appointment of a new city manager. We don't have a presentation for you this evening, but we do have Mike Faust here. I'm sure he'd be willing to answer any questions if you have them for him. But the agenda item for 19R is to appoint a new city manager and approve the associated employment agreement.
Council, do I have any further discussion on 19R? Seeing none, Council, do I have a motion to approve agenda item 19R?
All motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Please vote. And it passes 7-0. Thank you. I now recognize City Manager Mr. Henry Darwin to give his report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, and congratulations, Mike. So part of the celebration is something that Mike has been working on tirelessly for the past, I don't know how many years, at least a year and a half. On February 5th, as you can see on the screen, we will be celebrating with Caldwell County Barbecue their grand opening. And as you can see, this is scheduled for February 5th of this year. It's scheduled for a 10:30 to 11 o'clock ribbon cutting, and then their grand opening, which will occur from 11 to 5 o'clock that day. The after party will be across the street at the Johnny E. Osuna Memorial Park, and it'll be featuring music, inflatables, vendors. We really hope that the community can come out and help not only Caldwell County, but the city celebrate this wonderful addition to our and maybe the first major development, the new development in our historic downtown. So I hope you all join us. And with that, Mayor, that's my report for the evening.
Awesome. Thank you. Report from Youth Liaison. We have Felicia.
At our most recent Youth Advisory Board meeting a week ago, we had a presenter come in to inform our members about different graduation seals that Arizona's Department of Education offers. 3 different seals that they offer includes financial, biliteracy, and civic engagement. The representative from the Arizona Department of Education encouraged the members of the Youth Advisory Board to spread out the knowledge of the seals and for us to apply to at least one specific. The civic engagement one caught my eye because it only has simple prerequisites of passing 2 high school history classes with a 3.0 and 30 hours of civic learning, with 10 being civic engagement.
And Annika.
So I wanted to give a recap of some of our January volunteer events. For one of the events, we had 8 members attend a local church's food drive, and we also had the opportunity to attend the MLK celebration event. In addition to honoring Martin Luther King, we also wanted to engage the public in a meaningful way. So we asked those who stopped by our booth to make cards that we will be donating to a local hospice. At the same time, our patients talked about some of our teen programs like the Teen Leadership Academy and the Youth Advisory Board, which I think was really helpful because we have interviews for new board members coming up in February. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. And for the mayor's report, so Peoria Leadership Institute, registration is now open for the Peoria Leadership Institute, a 9-week program that gives residents a behind-the-scenes look on how the city government works. From council to manager form of government, to the budgeting process, to public works, utilities, police, and fire and medical services. The Peoria Leadership Institute is open to all Peoria residents and begins April 15th, with classes being held in the evenings from 6 to 9 p.m., offering a unique opportunity to see firsthand how the city services come together to support our city. If you're interested in the 2026 class, reference the city's website and contact information that's on the screen itself. Next up is the Human Sex Trafficking Awareness Month. January is the Human Sex Trafficking Awareness Month in the city of, not only for the city of Peoria, but for everywhere. We are committed to being the shining light on this crime and supporting survivors and standing united against exploitation. I was proud to issue a proclamation on behalf of the city of Peoria recognizing Human and Sex Trafficking Awareness Month and reaffirming our city's commitment to prevention, education, collaboration, law enforcement, and community partners. I'm going to say one last thing on this aspect of sex trafficking and human trafficking. I was fortunate and almost unfortunate to be a part of a group that's called Streetlight. That's a very active group here in the Valley. And a lot of people don't think that it's in our community. A lot of people avoid it. They don't necessarily think that it's not gonna happen here. And we don't pay attention to the signs of what actually happens. I can tell you firsthand, over the 5 years that I was on the board at Streetlight, we had over 170 girls come through the system from ages all the way from 5 all the way to 17. It is an absolute, it's in our communities everywhere, and it's pervasive everywhere. And we as citizens, we as human beings avoid it because we don't think that it's going to happen to our next door neighbor or to our kids. And it's absolutely something that I would very much appreciate people to try not only pay attention to, but try to get involved in your local communities and actually look at the opportunities to volunteer at some of these services like Streetlight and others. That absolutely makes a difference. When you can actually try to touch somebody to make a difference in trying to help save a life, because that's truly what it is, and also stop this hideous crime that happens. I know our incoming city manager was very involved in a lot of different programs across the state and trying to save different kids. This is a very big deal, and I would hope that people would look into it instead of avoiding it. So, with that, next on the agenda is call to the public. As a reminder, each speaker shall refrain from personal attacks, foul or abusive language, and will maintain a civil and courteous manner and tone. Members of the audience shall respect the rights of others and will not create noise or other disturbances that will disrupt or disturb the meeting. The City Council is not authorized by the state to discuss among its members or take any action raised in the public comment until a later meeting. Hayden Rush. You've gotten taller.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Beck, council members, and city staff. My name is Hayden Rush, and I was honored to be appointed to the Youth Advisory Board by Mayor Beck. I accepted that appointment in good faith and served for about a year and a half, genuinely trying to work from within to improve representation for Peoria's youth. I resigned. I resigned because it became clear to me that the board is facing serious issues of representation, balance, and purpose that cannot be fixed without structural reform. As it stands today, the Peoria Youth Advisory Board does not accurately represent the youth of Peoria. Out of 21 voting members, I was the only member aligned with conservative viewpoints. Unless only 4.76% of Peoria's youth hold conservative views, which there's more, trust me, that is a clear imbalance on a board meant to represent all young people in this city. There is also a major issue with who is represented. Nearly half of the members do not attend a traditional public school, instead coming from our private or charter schools, which serve roughly 5% of Peoria's student population. Meanwhile, more than 30,000 public school students, the overwhelming majority of Peoria's youth, are largely unrepresented. I also want to raise concern about the board's external partnerships and direction. The Peoria Youth Advisory Board is currently partnered with the Sierra Club, a nationally known, politically active, progressive advocacy organization. Regardless of anyone's personal views on climate policy, an official city youth board should not be aligned with any ideological organization. Doing so raises serious concerns about the political neutrality and inclusivity, and contributes to the perception that some viewpoints are welcomed while others are excluded. Beyond representation, there is a problem with the function of the board itself. Much of the board's work primarily benefits the members serving on it through volunteer work and resume building, rather than the broader youth population. We do very little direct outreach or engagement with the students that we are meant to represent. The stated purpose of the Youth Advisory Board is to advise the city of Peoria on issues affecting its youth. That mission cannot be fulfilled without balanced representation, neutrality, and meaningful engagement with the broader student population. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Hayden. Appreciate it. Thank you for your comments. Ms. Eva Osuna.
I don't think I want to follow those comments. They were amazing. Basically, my comments were going to be on the one of the consent agenda items for the Varney Park project. And thank you, Councilmember Dunn, for mentioning, and I agree with you totally. I applaud the staff for what they've done and that they've identified these funds to get this done. I think it's important to understand that some of these items that are on consent agenda are important to other people. And I remember in the past, I'd go up to Vicki Hunt. We didn't always agree, but I could go to Vicky Hunt and say, can you pull this off the consent agenda? Because I'd like to say something about it. And it would get done. I think we need to get back to that. So my comments are really related to that item. I want to acknowledge and express appreciation for the city's intention to restore and invest in Varney Park. It's encouraging to see this attention in Varney Track, and I appreciate the efforts to ensure these improvements support and reflect the needs of the community. Parks are more than amenities. They are shared spaces where children play, neighbors connect, and community pride is built. That sense of community is something that, as a city, we should never lose. These spaces are also part of the very essence of preserving our local culture and history, connecting past generations to those who will come after us. For many residents, Varney Park is a daily part of life and a key part of the neighborhood's identity. For me personally, Varney Park holds deep meaning. In 2006, through the city's tree planting program, I planted a tree in honor of my sister who passed away the year prior. That tree is a living part of that park, reflecting not only on my own connection, but also the meaningful connections that many residents have to that space. Because of that personal connection, I feel strongly that residents should have input as these improvements move forward. Preserving existing trees and green space matters, not just for the environment, but because Varney Park holds real personal and cultural meaning for the people who use it. I'm grateful to see this project moving forward and hopeful it reflects both thoughtful investment and respect for what already exists at Varney Park, with continued collaboration between the city and the residents who know and love this space. And I just fully support what the staff have done. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. And with that, we're adjourned. Thank you.